I'm a bit of a yapper, so there's a much shorter version at the end of the post for anyone interested. So yeah, it feels a bit forced to write this, but here we go. I've never told it to anyone, as I know how silly and unlikely it sounds, but I'm absolutely sure of my memories. It's not as interesting as other stories here, but I wanted to share it anyway and hopefully hear some feedback. So, to have a bit of a background, I was a hella weird kid, and I mean it literally. Not I stabbed a plushie with scissors haha type, but more like I came into this world to suffer. It's all a punishment. They trapped me in this body. That was my actual mindset back then. I had rapid intellectual development, didn't get on well with other kids, and was born sick of this world. Typical stuff, I suppose. But I'm not here to describe all eccentric traits from my childhood. Anyway, despite being mature for my age, I still had some childish traits, and those were intense emotions I didn't control well. Mostly anger and fear, the only ones I remember tbh. If I was scared, I would shiver, go pale, cry, and yell. All of these in a hysterical manner. And if I was mad, well, I wouldn't do anything, as I grew up in an abusive house and there wasn't a safe place to let the rage out. But trust me, my mind would become feral. My brain felt too tight and I'd experience extreme derealization with all my brain cells. There's like 3.5 focusing only on the rage, a kind of anger I could only feel as a kid. It doesn't happen anymore. I can't describe it, and I won't even try. But try to think of your worst argument and the anger you felt at that moment. Then multiply it 100 times. You won't even get close. The only thing I can mention is that it felt very self-destructive and tiring. But that's rather understandable. I'm not a psychologist or some, but I'm 100% sure it's not normal to feel that much anger for anyone. The beginning was awkward and chaotic. But now we're ready to switch to the main story. Sorry for making it so long. I was sleeping with my sister in our room, or at least trying to fall asleep. I was bleep off cause I had to get up early for school. The next day hated the system from the very beginning. My head hurt a bit, my heart was racing, and I could feel the annoyingly loud pulse in my ears. Basically the feeling of every Saturday evening. In our bedroom there was the terrarium where my hamster lived, and guess what? I actually took care of it. I would read and watch many guides so that it could spend its short life in a paradise. First-class food and snacks, including those stinky silk moth larvas and not as stinky meal beetles, right-sized treadmill, big terrarium with thick layer of non-dusty scabs and hay, some wood and other bleep. I'm still a big fan of rodents, and I still admit I did a good job raising all my furry kids. The mentioned hamster decided to get up as I was about to sleep. That is obviously normal, as hamsters are nocturnal animals. Nothing weird here. It was jumping around, digging, tapping the terrarium walls with its paws, doing its regular monkey rodent business. I was used to the noise and it never bothered me, but this time I found it incredibly annoying. I was sick of the noise it made. I wanted to sleep. At that moment, I felt pure hatred toward this creature. I was bleep off, absolutely mad and crazy at it. And let me stress this out. I got mad at it. The pet itself, not the situation, not the noise, just the poor pet. I loved so much and played with it every time it wasn't asleep. I was laying still in bed. I didn't even move an inch. Only my brain was self-destructing with an abnormal amount of hatred. And the noise stopped right after. No more jumping, digging, nothing. Just silence, except my sister's breathing. Only then I felt somewhat of a relief and eventually fell asleep. The next day I found the hamster dead, and yeah, that's it. Note, it was young. It wasn't even a year old. And all my other hamsters lived easily 4 years in slightly worse conditions. It's easy to call it a coincidence. Maybe it was one. But if we all were skeptical, this subreddit wouldn't even exist. I think it's a silly story, but well, I did feel a little guilty. I was sad as anyone would be at the death of their pet. But overall I didn't overthink it too much. I knew it was me, though, and that wasn't a speculation, but a fact, STH obvious to me. It didn't change my brain chemistry or anything. I didn't believe I had superpowers. I didn't try to do it again on purpose, etc. It was just an episode in my life which I still think about sometimes. Even now, being much more skeptical, I still think the same, that I caused it. Kinda. But as I said, I don't overthink it, it just happened. There were some similar situations which I won't describe in detail, but I picked one of them, possibly the most boring one. I was walking home with my mother and, as it happened to everybody else, she stopped to talk to some acquaintance of hers. The talk was getting too long for my liking and even pulling. My mother's sleeve didn't help, as the ultimate attack didn't work. I got right, and in that moment the acquaintance's heel broke. The shoe, I mean, P.S. it didn't stop them from taking. Hopefully, it was at least a little entertaining for anyone who suffered through this poorly written post.